Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We have a unique, fun, and jam-packed Perpetual Chess episode coming your way. It's a format I've never exactly done. First, wanted to thank our sponsors, Chessable.com. We've got a bunch of guests in this episode, and one thing that you will hear is how they all approach openings differently. However you're approaching openings, if you want to learn about a specific opening, whether you're cramming for a super GM or just trying to get a minimalist repertoire, Chessable can help you out. So be sure to check out their litany of courses, whose catalog is being supplemented all the time. So this week's episode is all about Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura's unexpected appearance in the Louisiana State Championship on the weekend of August 30th. So a lot of you probably heard some of this story, but basically Hikaru, out of the blue, registered for this small state championship tournament, which typically features a few masters, and it's very unusual for a player of Hikaru's level to register, let alone play, in a state championship tournament. Well, it turns out that Hikaru has the highest rating, other than Magnus, in the world, and one of the FIDE candidates' qualification spots goes to the player with the highest rating who will accept the invitation. But in order to be eligible for this invitation, you need to play 40 FIDE-rated games a year. Hikaru, going into this tournament in Louisiana, had only played 18, so he had joked on stream at some point he said, maybe I will play in a few, quote, Mickey Mouse tournaments to get the games that he needed. And then out of the blue, he signed up for this tournament. And it ended up being a big story. There was a bit of controversy associated with whether this should be how a world championship candidate spot is determined. I'm less interested in that story, and I'm more interested in the human interest angle. Hearing the stories of the people who got to play Hikaru, hearing about the impact that it had on the Louisiana and New Orleans, the city within Louisiana where this took place, hearing about the impact it had on the players, the stories that these players will get to tell. And that's what this episode is all about. So I recorded it during the week of September 1st while it was fresh in players' minds. I interviewed an organizer and 4 participants in the tournament. Honestly, I would love to hear more, but this already took a lot of time in editing, and want to get this out quickly while it's still fresh. In fact, as I record this intro, on September 8th, it turns out that Hikaru's played in Iowa for the Iowa State Championship last weekend. So that only came up in the last couple interviews I recorded, but it's funny that this story is continuing as Hikaru tries to get the needed FIDE games. But this one is all about the New Orleans tournament, and we have 5 fascinating interviews, 5 fascinating perspectives that you can hear. The first guest is Richard Campbell, who is a senior tournament director and organizer. So he's the one who got the registration for Hikaru and tells the story behind that and how the organizers had to react, what they had to think about or do about security and cheat detection and all that stuff. And then I interviewed 4 different players who had the opportunity to play Hikaru. And again, this to me really illustrates how chess affects people's lives differently, because you hear from different players at different levels, all with the common thread of loving chess, but chess being different degrees of priority for them and reaching them at different points in their lives. So the first guest is 20-year-old Tulane student Harry James, who played Hikaru in the first round. The second guest is also a Tulane student, but a Tulane graduate student who played Hikaru in the third round. His name is Nahum Villamil Garces. He wrote a little heartfelt post that went pretty viral online talking about the experience. Next up is FM Nick Matta, who is a 5-time Louisiana State champion and a very strong player and accomplished trainer, kind of like a stalwart of the Louisiana chess scene. And it was really instructive to hear him not only talk about the experience, but also in that particular interview, I think there's a lot of good chess advice about how to approach playing a stronger player. Obviously, Hikaru being one of the strongest ever, but I think it's applicable no matter who you are, about the psychology of playing players stronger than you. And then I also got to interview his last round opponent, National Master Charles Campbell, who also gave him quite a fight and had good drawing chances throughout. One other thing I wanted to mention is that, of course, most people listen to this podcast in audio-only format. In my interviews with Nick and Charles in particular, we do reference a couple positions. So if you want to watch those on YouTube, I did put up a few diagrams, but but it's, 90% thoughts and feelings and 10% chess variations, even in those conversations. And you can still, without seeing a board, sort of get a feel for the dynamics of how they approach certain decisions and opening choices and stuff like that. But yeah, I loved putting this together. You could feel that it really galvanized the New Orleans community. It also galvanized me just to hear different people's perspective and hear how excited they were by the opportunity to play against an elite player. Leela DeQuinn from New Orleans, who's active in U.S. chess and helped, along with John Fernandez of U.S. chess, help get me in touch with so many of the players. She eloquently described to me what this means to New Orleans in particular. She wrote to me, quote, Hikaru registered late on the afternoon of August 29th, 2025, exactly 20 years after the first of several post-Katrina levee failures sent floodwaters into the city. By 6 p.m. on August 29th, 2005, 20% of the city was flooded. By the next morning, it was 80%. So Hikaru's surprise arrival was either a God deal or an amazing coincidence. Either way, the joy he brought to our chess community reflects its survival and rebuilding over the 2 decades since my hometown was nearly wiped from the face of the earth, unquote. So it was great to hear that. And as we talk about with Richard and touch on later, of course, New Orleans has a rich chess history, being where Paul Morphy is from, most notably. So let me know what you think of this episode. It's obviously a bit of a different format, but I really enjoyed putting it together and would love to hear your feedback. And then the last thing before we get you to this lengthy episode with 5 different interviews, timestamps of the guests, of course, in the interview, is I wanted to let you know about a new sponsor who's a longtime friend of the pod, but now they are wanting to get the word out about some online classes that they're doing, which is the Silver Knights Chess Academy. The Silver Knights Chess Academy is a DC-based massive after-school program. I have actually interviewed their CEO, Adam Weisbarth, a couple times over the years, but they also do lots of online classes. They actually have students in all 50 states. They teach all skill levels at the scholastic level, basically from anyone who knows how the pieces move on up to above 2000 level. They have online classes. They feature regular coaches like renowned Grandmaster Johan Helston, another friend of the pod, and Grandmaster Lazora Bruzan. The Academy has produced 11 states scholastic championships this year alone in championship sections. They also occasionally get guest coaches like Magnus Carlsen, Judith Polgar, Anish Giri, the list goes on. The classes are in a small group format, typically with about 5 kids plus 1 coach. The format is interactive to keep the kids engaged, and they were the winner of the 2025 U.S. Chess Scholastic Service Award. So if you want the scholastic chess player in your life to learn from the best coaches, make new chess friends with other kids, and improve at the game while learning online at home, then go to chessacademy.com/online, and you can use the coupon code POD, P-O-D, coupon code POD, to get half off of your first month. And I'll link to that as well as the coupon code in the description, but Silver Knights does great work. So whether you're a chess parent or a coach looking to get some students an extra level of instruction, then they're worth keeping in mind. And actually, if you're a coach, you can also reach out to Silver Knights about potential affiliate deals. But we've got a full litany of guests. So I presented them first, the organizer, and then the guests appear in the order that they have played Hikaru. So again, round 1 opponent, Harry James, round 3, Nahum, round 6, FM Nick Matta, and round 7, Charles Campbell. And apologies to the few opponents I couldn't reach to, but this is already an hour and 40-minute episode that I greatly enjoyed putting together, but spent a lot of time on. So this story will continue. I think Hikaru is going to show up for at least one more tournament. He says it could be in either the U.S. or Canada. We will see about that. But in the meantime, let's get you to the interviews. And we are here with Richard Campbell, who is a senior tournament director and FIDE national arbiter who got back into chess in the year 2018 and has been helping out the growing chess scene down in New Orleans. And of course, was running the Louisiana State Championship. Richard, thanks for popping in.
Oh, no, thank you for having me, Ben. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I couldn't resist. It's such a crazy story. And there's so many tentacles, everyone online outraged about, well, some people online. I mean, some people online are always outraged, but about whether this should have been the tournament that Hikaru played. But to me, I just love the human interest angle of it. And as someone who plays tournaments like this, I love the idea that Hikaru played. But let's start from the beginning for you. So you're running this tournament. How did you find out that Hikaru was playing?
So Friday evening, we get an email. We use King registration like a number of other clubs do around the country. And we got an email that a Nakamura had registered for the tournament. And at first we thought nothing of it because we have a Nakamura, Daniel Nakamura in Louisiana, who plays chess and has been at some of our tournaments before. And so initially I thought it was going to be him. And then later we looked at the, list of registered players and the King site and saw, oh no, that's Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. And at this point we were like, this has to be a joke. And when I say we, I mean Andrew Squitiero, who runs the club with me, Downriver Chess. And then we looked at it a little bit further. I was like, well, if it's a joke, they, bought in a full entry fee and they used a credit card with Hikaru Nakamura's name on it. So I guess we'll find out. And then at that point, honestly, we started initially thinking about, well, that round one's going to be a problem when it comes to FIDE because it's sub 120 minutes per game, which means it's not eligible to be rated with the 2,400 plus player in it. But we'll see if that becomes a problem tomorrow or not. And then, so, went to bed, figured it's going to either we'll find out it's a joke or we won't. And then 30 minutes before round one was about to start, we got a text from Hikaru's second.
Is this Chris Littlejohn?
Yes, exactly, Chris.
Okay.
And so we got the message from Chris, and we're like, okay, I guess it's real. Well, it's going to be a weird weekend now. And it was. Because by that point, Reddit had already looked at the list. I have no idea how. And Twitter had already looked at the list, and outrage was circling about Hikaru, going to farm either rating points, depending on who you ask, although, as Hikaru noted, it doesn't really make any sense. He doesn't need to farm rating points. He needs to get the rest of his FIDE-rated classical chess games in before the candidates to call.
Yeah, he needs to farm rated games, not the points.
Exactly. Yes, and so, he showed up, he rocked up, and he had visited a few years back just as part of doing, like, when he was doing more of a street chess scene, and had briefly appeared at our club, just on like a Monday night. But we hadn't, seen him since, and had absolutely no expectation he was going to show up. And
hold on, I have so many questions already. So first of all, when you get the registration Friday night, you go to bed, you don't know if it's legit or not. Did you think it was legit? Like, I mean, it is his credit card. So
again, it was his credit card. It seemed like a really identity theft seemed like a weird step to go to make a joke out of it. I'll just put it that way.
Right.
But on the other hand, it doesn't seem real that, like, literally the number 2 in the world is going to rock up to, our tournament. Like, this is a fairly it's a $3,000 prize purse. Hikaru's last 2 tournaments were like 2025 Norway Cup and the American. He won 90,000 himself at the American Cup. It's
right.
Like, his biggest prize chance, which he won, was $800 from this event.
Yeah. And with the talk of rating farming, I mean, there's nothing but downside for him rating-wise.
Correct.
He had some tough games, and even beyond that, you're risking, he gained 0.8 points, which some people on Reddit were saying was actually too many mathematically. I didn't dig too deeply into that, but okay, he won 7 out of 7 and gained 1 point. And obviously, if anything goes wrong, he loses. So it's a tough way to make an easy living if you're trying to farm rating points that way.
Absolutely. And he said it, later on stream. It's like he was increasingly nervous every time an opponent would not blunder, just because, again, there's nothing but downside for him, especially by that point, because the whole world's ready to point and laugh if he even draws any of the rest of the player pool.
Right. So once Chris Littlejohn texts you and you realize this is legit, you've got to think about, is he going to be streaming the games? You've got to think about crowd control. Did you have to take any unusual steps once it became real?
Well, not particularly unusual overall, though unusual for us in that we asked one of our other players, Austin Janusa, to borrow his DGT board so that we could stream that board. And then we eventually got around to setting up a tripod and having a camera on it so that then, Hikaru could stream the games, but also, like, they could go up on chess.com. And somewhere during the first day, we got an email from WeChess about the same thing, stream the DGT. They're like, sure. Crowd control, actually, it was not great, but it was not much worse than we see at any of our tournaments where everybody wants to be around the top board constantly. There was
Mm.
somewhat more of that than normal, but not insurmountably so, thankfully. Hikaru and Chris would pretty much pop up just before the round started and then would, leave whenever the game was over because it's 4 hour game,
Yeah.
2 games a day. You didn't have a lot of downtime.
Yeah,
He,
we all know how that goes.
exactly.
Well,
And go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Hikaru definitely was gracious enough. He took some pictures with some of our players around, in between rounds and whatnot. But then he would kind of disappear, so it was not crowd control in between rounds was thankfully not too big of a deal.
Okay, because I did see some pictures online of what looked like him doing postmortems.
No, he did actually. After round 5, Hikaru went into the Skittles room and
Mm.
went through like just a full standard analysis, like any of our other players might with his opponent. In that round, Mark Schillenkamp, and he talked about that later. Said he enjoyed the hell out of it. He hadn't done it in decades.
Yeah.
But yes, he did. Hikaru did that after the last 3 rounds. He did it with Mark. He did it with Nick, and then he did part of it with Charles. But Charles had to leave to drive back home, basically.
Okay.
So couldn't get as much out of that. But yes, and from what I saw and what I heard, and what I could walk by, obviously trying to watch the hall as much as possible between the two of us, 100% between the two of us. Didn't see too much of a problem with crowding of the Skittles room.
Okay. Yeah. And as you mentioned, somehow the internet got it even before the tournament started, which I find somewhat amazing. What was the atmosphere like before round 1, before he had actually showed up? Was everyone just kind of watching the door? What was happening?
Oh, they were. The number of times I was asked, "Is this real?" Was
Right.
fairly nuts. It was roughly one per player plus one per spectator, and the answer was always the same. No, no. Find out in about 10
Yeah,
minutes, or half
right.
hour. Like, waiting to see.
Yeah. And of course, we can't discuss any chess tournament without discussing cheat detection. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have procedures in place, although often, again,
Let me just stop you there, man. That
Yep.
was my nightmare. Like
Yeah.
like from Hikaru showing up was like, are we going? Is anybody going to be able to cheat their way even to a draw and cause a, literally continuing international drama at our tournament? And thankfully, did not see any problems. I will tell you, I'm not going to go into any specifics other than tell you we do not have a FIDE standard, or not FIDE standard. We do not have massive cheat detection infrastructure. Nobody was wanded. There were no metal detectors.
Yeah.
But thankfully 7 of 7 for Hikaru, so no drama on that issue, and no reports from any other players on any other games.
Yeah.
But
Glad to
no,
hear it.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, as someone who's played in this kind of tournament many times, I don't think you can really expect that level of security.
No.
The prizes are small, and that's not why they play. But I mean, it's amazing that these people got this once in a lifetime opportunity to play. So, were you following the games more closely than usual? And also from a cheat detection front, I'm curious if you guys have a limited staff. Did you have someone watching it all the time? Did you have to make alternate plans that way?
No, we were watching, to be frank, we were watching the stream more than the board itself from the standpoint of honestly just making sure that literally the technical situation was working out and the internet had not gone out or anything weird. But Hikaru's board was basically 10, 15 feet away from the tournament director's tables, fairly 100% of the time in our line of vision. Wasn't
Okay.
no real way to avoid that. We patrol for electronic devices more frequently than commonly. I'll tell you that much as well. But
Sorry, say that
no,
again?
but we wandered around looking for people with phones out more than
Oh,
we
yeah.
might at other tournaments.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what about people taking pictures? Like, did you allow that throughout or?
No, not throughout. Only limited amounts. Typically, what you're trying to do is just get like a ceremonial one or handshake style opponent picture. Plus, Chess Life sent a photographer in to take photos, which we had cleared, after day 1. But individuals were all outside of the playing hall. at least after the round had started, in terms of anybody taking photos.
Okay. And then Hikaru, again, he did have some tough games, but he went 7-0, won first place.
Mm-hmm.
What was the prize giving? I understand he didn't get does he get the trophy or no?
Well, no, he does not get the trophy, not as a Louisiana resident. The trophy went to Nick Matta again, who successfully defended his title. But Hikaru got he got a check, and there was, he got a check. We got a picture, or Andrew got a picture with handing Hikaru the check. And that was pretty much it, because as a relatively small tournament, with Hikaru being clear victor, he got his prize and he left, which is perfectly fine. Other people stuck around until much, much later in the day to get the final prize distribution and get the payouts, because as usual, there's 18 zillion way split for third prize in the under 1600 kind of thing. It just always gets more ugly the further you get down and down and down. Everybody else has gone home. So there's typically not a big ceremony.
And as we mentioned, there's been some online discussion about whether this is a good system for FIDE to have, for someone to qualify for the rating spot for the FIDE candidates, which is why Hikaru needed to play rated games. Do you even venture into those waters? Do you have any opinion about a question like that?
I went far enough into the waters to understand why Hikaru could gain literally anything by showing up to that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I did vaguely remember the Ali Reza and Ding Loren sort of parallel controversies in cycles past. It doesn't seem like a particularly great system, but on the other hand, I don't know that anybody seriously thinks that Hikaru should not be able to play the candidates. It's not like it would be the first time.
Right.
So I'm not sure that we're really losing anything by, having this pathway. He played Norway, he played the American Cup. We know he's good. What else do you need?
Yeah. In this case, it's one of those things where there's he's a rightful candidate this time, but there could be circumstances, like even someone like Vishy Anand, who's obviously, one of the biggest legends of all time, but keeps a very high rating because he doesn't play very much. So Hikaru's not at that stage of semi-retirement yet, but moving in that direction. But anyway, I mean, we don't get to make these decisions anyway, so it's. But I was
absolutely.
Just
I mean, I conceptually, I think just a wild card would have been sort of a cleaner solution for what I suspect FIDE was trying to accomplish by having this rating spot set up this way, which was just to give Magnus a path back if he wanted it.
Yeah.
But the rules were set down the way they were, and I expect nothing less that out of high-level chess competitors than figuring whatever rules they can reasonably work within and do it that way.
Yep, even if they have to play in a Mickey Mouse tournament.
Absolutely.
Then the next year it'll be called the Mickey Mouse Classic. But Richard, before we let you go, really appreciate you sharing this story. It's amazing. What's going on with chess in New Orleans? Is it growing? Can you tell us a little bit about your club?
Oh, sure. I run the Downriver Chess Club, and we play, just like Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night regular tournaments. And that, just sort of one of them is one of the most, we have more quick games in our club than pretty much anybody else in the known universe, because nobody seems to care about quick as a time control. But, just standard game and 15 stuff. And we have a few hundred regulars, because it changes completely from, week to week. Will be like half the same people and then half, who knows, could be tourists, could be, anybody else just in town. And we try and run, larger tournaments, which are more about, from our standards, the 50 to 80 style, every couple of months. And also pick up, we're about to restart kind of the scholastic schedule of the year with, 5 or 6 tournaments that will be for about 100 to 130 kids each time. And we saw the same Queen's Gambit boom, a sort of post-pandemic lockdown, that the rest of the chess world did. And then we saw some of a retrenchment. So chess has always been popular in New Orleans for, the classical reasons, Paul Morphy and the like. There's a somewhat of a culture there, but we are fundamentally a city of 300,000, New York or even Charlotte.
Yeah, well, but a city that punches above its weight, both from a
Certainly this year.
yeah, no, but from a cultural perspective too, it's one of America's great cities. I mean, it's got the musical history and the amazing food. Definitely recommend both listeners abroad and listeners in the U.S. who haven't been to New Orleans to make sure you go at some point. And I'm glad to hear that people like you, Richard, are doing work to make sure chess stays thriving. Because as you say, the Paul Morphy connection alone, I mean, it gives Louisiana and New Orleans in particular such a firm connection with chess.
And before I forget, do not want to leave out the man in the red beret himself, Jude Acers.
Yeah, I was going to
Ben,
mention Jude. I've actually never met him, but
oh no, he's a great guy. Been down on Decatur Street, taking on all comers for forever. I make it a point to
yeah,
at least get a game in every Mardi Gras.
excellent. Yeah,
With
Jude
him.
is a legendary. I don't know if street player is the right word, but
It's the only word you've got, but it's not, it doesn't quite get cover everything for sure.
yeah, for
He's
sure.
been
And
keeping
shout out to him. We've exchanged messages, but I didn't play chess the one time I was, or actually been in New Orleans twice. But anyway,
yeah.
neither here nor there. Anyway, Richard, really appreciate you taking the time on short notice. Such an amazing story. And yeah, maybe we can catch up next year when Magnus plays in the Louisiana State Championship.
Absolutely. We'll be looking forward to it. JohnRiverChess.com.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
Ben.
Richard. Thank you.
Bye.
And we are here with Hikaru Nakamura's first round opponent from the Louisiana State Championship. His name is Harry James. He is a 20-year-old junior at Tulane University with a double major in economics and history. Originally from New Jersey, I just found out, where I currently reside, and I am excited to hear his Hikaru story. Welcome to the pod, Harry.
Hi, it's nice to meet you, Ben.
Yeah, I'm really excited to chat. Just an incredible story. So you were starting to tell me before we hit record, and I was like, no, stop, because I want it to be organic. So Friday night, the night before the tournament, I already interviewed Nahum, although this is going to come out, yours is going to air in sequence before his, since you played him.
Me and Nahum play pretty consistently in our chess club because I'm the president of the club. He's a PhD student. We'll get like 6 games a club. But yeah, the night before the tournament, I was drinking with some friends, and then I get a call from Carter, who was president of the chess club before me. He's now in San Antonio because he graduated. But I got a call, and like we think, and like he's like, dude, Hikaru registered for the tournament. And we were like, but we're both convinced it was just fake, like it
Right.
was somebody, because I think someone else did it so you could like, because you can register as like Magnus Carlsen if you updated his USCF. So it's like there's a way it could have been fake. And I was like, oh, whatever. And I was just like drinking with my friends, and I woke up and I was pretty hungover. Then I got to the tournament. I see Andrew Scarito, who's our faculty advisor at Tulane for the chess club. I'm like, hey Andrew, how you doing? He's like, check your pairings. I'm like, okay. And then I check, and I'm paired against Hikaru.
Unbelievable. So at that point, you're thinking it's probably real?
Yeah, well, yeah, at that point, I think it's probably real. Everyone's saying, I'm like, is he actually here? And everyone's like, yeah, he's there. And then I'm just sitting at my table, and probably about like maybe like 10, 15 kids, some adults too, or just kept coming up to me like, you got this, good luck, like you can do it. So that was pretty cool. And like, and I was a little upset. I'm like, Dad, like, why did I get put up against Hikaru to Andrew? And Andrew's like, most people would, like, you're in a very lucky situation. Most people would be very thankful to be in this situation. And I was like, I agree.
Yeah, and we'll return to that. But first, I got to follow up because I'm surprised your friend, the former Tulane Chess Club president, called you rather than texted. I thought no one your age talked on the phone.
I mean, I don't know. When it's something like big with my friends or whatever, usually you don't text.
Okay.
I mean, we're also like good enough friends where like we just honestly call.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me. People will have already heard my interview with Richard Campbell that word got out so quickly that someone just randomly discovered it. And then, word gets passed along, and a lot of people in the tournament found out in advance. So you're sitting at the board, but had you seen Hikaru milling about before he comes to play you, or?
I saw him I saw him walk around in the tournament hall, walk around and then sit in the seat and then get back up and walk back around. I was like, oh,
okay.
Wow.
And of course, it's come to light what his motivation was to play this tournament. He needs a certain number of rated games in order to qualify for the FIDE candidates. Did you have wind of any of that? Or are you like, why on earth is he here?
Well, I remember right before the game, I asked him, I'm like, why are you in Louisiana? He said to play chess. And then Nick Matta, he was right next to me. He's Louisiana State champion. Also,
Yeah, I'll be
a friend
interviewing
of
him
mine.
too.
He explained the whole candidates thing to me.
Okay. And then the game, it's tough playing a super grandmaster, but he played 1b4, the orangutan, sometimes called the Polish.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to that?
I mean, I was honestly very happy about that because the orangutan, I think the only time I've beaten Nick Matta, he played the orangutan. So I was pretty happy because his theory, I knew like the first few moves. I knew I wasn't worse starting off. So I was honestly kind of like half excited, half embarrassed. Because it's like,
and
it's a little bit of a demoralizing opening to face. So you're like, oh, he's just going to crush me.
Yeah, that's what I wondered about. I mean, some people might think it's like, I don't know the word, but, sometimes like the Bon Cloud, obviously is the most extreme example, E4, King E2. If someone plays that, they're not playing a serious chess game, and there's a sense of mocking. The orangutan obviously is not that, but it's not considered a serious opening, although white is still better if they play it. So at Hikaru's level, it's fine.
It made it a really fun game, though, if you took a look at it.
Yeah, I did see the game. And for listeners, funny sort of back angle. As I discussed with Richard Campbell, they needed to borrow a DGT board. They didn't have it for round one since they weren't sure if Hikaru was coming. So Harry's game at the time I'm recording on Friday, I couldn't find a PGN online. Hikaru did recap it on his video, which I watched. But as of initial reporting, the PGNs are available for the other 6 of Hikaru's games, but not Harry's yet. But I have a feeling someone's going to watch the video and post it online sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to post it at some point. But they had to move the board to another side of the hall. But yeah, they were not prepared for Hikaru to be there, which is really funny.
Yeah. And then so how long did the game take in time?
So I think it's the first round. It's not classical. It was 60 plus 30. He ended up with, I think, 71 minutes. And I ended up with, I think, 26 minutes after 44 moves.
And how many times have you watched his video recap?
Probably about I like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And it's funny because
like first one, like first game in the video. It's also like that video has my friend Nahum's game, and he's like very good friend of mine that I've known since like I first joined the chess club.
Okay, and listeners will hear his interview next, actually, on the pod. And yeah, Hikaru, he doesn't mince words. He never holds back. So he said, he says something in the video at one point. He says, like, I was just trying to get this game over as quickly as possible, trying to move instantly. But then there was another move where you prevented his rook from coming to the 7th rank. You played a prophylactic move where he said it was an excellent move. So when you watch the recaps, are you living and dying with his critiques?
I think so. I mean, obviously, like I told a lot of my friends about it, and I kept getting sent the one where it's like, oh, like I want to get this game done as quickly as possible. Like that was very funny.
Right.
But, yeah, when he said like I played the best move and I was playing like in spite of my rating, like it made me feel good about my game and everything like that. Like I was honestly pretty surprised because I thought I was lost before then.
Yeah, I'm sure that's nice to hear. And even when he says he's trying to get the game over with, like that's not personal, that's
right. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, it's good that you have that perspective. And so as you mentioned, you were drinking with friends the night before, as 20-year-olds often do. But I'm curious, so how hungover were you for this game? Are we talking mild, or are we talking like you can't see straight?
Maybe when I woke up, it was pretty bad, but I remember I just had some of an energy drink that I like had prepared the night before because I knew.
Nice. Hopefully you hydrated too.
I mean, I'd say it like when I saw Hikaru, it like completely disappeared though. Like I was like, I like became like normal all of a sudden.
And you didn't feel like there's like a 10% chance this is like a fever dream, and
No, I mean, no, I knew it was real, but it was still pretty crazy because I remember I was watching the tournament. I texted 2 of my friends who live in New Jersey. I was like, oh, gonna play Hikaru, and then 6 minutes later, I actually got paired. I actually got paired against him.
Unbelievable. So had you, like when I was talking with Nahum, he mentioned once he knew he was in the tournament, he's kind of brainstorming what round might I play him, how many games might I have to win. Whereas
Right.
you, where the ratings fall, if you sort of did a quick manual look at the pairing, you would know you're close to playing him in the first round, but you didn't know that the night before.
Well, I mean, the main thing is like I knew there was a chance. I mean, I was just convinced he wasn't going to be there. Yeah, I mean, I think it was really big for the tournament organizers, Andrew and Richard, because I mean, these aren't big tournaments. Like I've with the I don't know if we're gonna be able to do one this year, but I've planned tournaments with them with the Tulane Chess Club at Tulane, and it's like the tournaments, they aren't super huge, but you're always a little bit nervous to see like if it's gonna have a good turnout or like if the club is gonna make enough money. I think someone like Hikaru going there is really good for the Louisiana Chess and Louisiana Chess Association and just the overall like excitement towards the game, you know?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And I again discussed with Nahum and Richard. I mean, I don't know how much intention was behind which Mickey Mouse tournament Hikaru decided to play in, but New Orleans is a great choice. I mean, it's a wonderful city with outstanding chess history. So it's nice to see him get the people excited. And if a few more people show up next year, probably erroneously thinking that some Super GM's going to show up, but nonetheless,
I mean,
that's great.
Hans joked on Twitter that he was going to show up.
Hans would do that he would do that just for the memes. So
I mean he probably wouldn't come back if Hans did that, but yeah.
Right. Well, then you guys maybe get to see a fight too. You know, if Hans and Hikaru show up.
that would have been really funny. Yeah, I mean, Hikaru's come to New Orleans before. He's played some of our members before in the quarter a few years ago, but so
yeah, he did some YouTube stuff around it, right?
He likes the city that he'll do tournaments here, but
yeah, it's an awesome city. And after the game, again, as he mentioned in his video, your game had the unusual circumstance of he's there to get FIDE games, and yours is not even a FIDE game because of the faster time control. So in terms of wanting to get a game over with, this is likely going to be the lowest rated opponent he's going to play. It's also the fastest time control. So he's really probably just trying to conserve energy. But did you have any interactions with him after the game?
Yeah, so right after he said he just said you didn't play bad. And I was like and like he's asking me what my rating was. I was like, oh, it's 1500 classical, 1700 quick. And it was pretty quick conversation. And then I got a picture with him. And then the day after I gave him a Tulane chess shirt, but I don't know, I was just trying to be respectful because like he was getting a lot of attention, like pretty much everyone was going up to him, trying to talk to him. So it's, I mean, I got the game with him. I still have the sheet with me actually.
Awesome. Wow.
With the signed.
That's awesome.
Signature, but it's pretty brief though, I would say.
Okay. Still an amazing experience overall.
Yeah.
And do you have more tournaments coming up, Harry?
So there's one, I think there's Paul Morphy Swiss at Downriver. There's some type of tournament that I'm probably going to enter in like a month.
Okay.
But I don't think there's anything going on right now.
Okay. Do you manage to, you're a double major, which is not easy. Got an active social life. Do you manage to study much chess or just play for fun when you can?
I mean, like, I would like to, but it's kind of hard when you're a full-time student.
Yep. I've been there a long time ago, but I've been there.
I mean, like every once in a while, I'll try to play games and just like I'll study like during club because Tulane actually has a library with books from like 1820, like chess books, but they're obviously like impossible to read because the notation's different. But
yeah, the descriptive.
I mean, whenever I can, but probably usually not. I mean, I probably should again because Nahum's always down too during club.
Nice. And one other question I had was, so your game ended in checkmate. Was that like a conscious thing to play through to checkmate? Is that something you always do?
Well, I was talking. I forget who I was talking to, but like, I mean, if I'm playing like a super GM, I'm gonna force them to checkmate me.
Because some people would have the opposite perspective. As soon as they get like a 0.4 advantage, they'd be like, I know this is routine for you, and they just resign right away. But I was
hoping he was gonna make a mistake because there was points at the end where I had tricks where like I would have there was some like rook move like he was explaining in his video too. If he made some move and I moved.
Oh, that was a crazy trick. Yeah,
I had like a discovered check.
Yeah. Yeah, how did he phrase it? He said, like, if I had, I can't remember, but he alluded to almost making an embarrassing mistake or the
Yeah, then
opportunity for an
he said
embarrassing.
it would be like the most embarrassing loss of his career.
Yeah, which was not really true because it was a kind of sneaky little move the king out of check, attack something thing. But yeah, no such luck. And
Yeah.
also like we understand why he was playing instantly, but when they're playing instantly, you got to make them make the moves because they're even Hikaru is slightly more prone to making a mistake if he's not thinking.
Right, that's true. And I think that's why I actually hung around for that long. You know, I'd like probably the first 21 moves, it was zeros. So I was happy I had to make him work for it, even though he did gain 11 minutes by the end of the game.
That's hilarious.
I think
Yeah.
he only that means he only used like 22 minutes total or something.
Well, it's still 20 minutes. I mean, he plays at like a 2500 level in 1 minute. So,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
true.
to make him use 20 is not bad. Well, Harry, thanks so much for sharing your story. It's been awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's
Sounds
nice to
like
meet you.
sounds like you would recommend Tulane University to any young.
I would recommend our chess club. We've done some cool events with Jude Anchors. We actually I just want to add this last thing. I almost said this to Hikaru, but I didn't think it was a good idea. We did do an event, Zoom event with Kramnik for 3 hours where he didn't charge us a cent and he beat us in Morphe way. But I was going to tell Hikaru about that, but I was like, he's doing chess.com. Probably won't like to hear that.
Yeah, wow, that's really nice though. It's good to hear some. I mean, I interviewed Kramnik. He was very nice to me, but this was before all the cheating stuff. And yeah, his reputation has changed, you could say.
I mean, at the end of the day, he beat Kasparov, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
certainly no one can question what he accomplished over the board.
Yeah.
Well, Harry, again, thanks for sharing your story. It was awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Ben.
And we are here with Hikaru Nakamura's third round opponent. His name is Nahum Villamil Garces. He is from Colombia originally, but in his fourth year studying in New Orleans. And our guest got a lot of attention because he issued this heartfelt comment to one of Hikaru's streams describing the experience. He wrote, "I'm Nahum, the third game guy. Imagine signing up for your first official tournament in years in a foreign country and seeing one of your childhood idols showing up on his journey to the title. In 2 words, a dream. I was paired against an absolute icon, got a nice chat, pictures, a signed sheet, and now a recap of my mistakes. Haha. What else can you ask for? That he gets to win the world title and to be a little part of that. Thanks, Hikaru." So that really I found touching, and I really felt it encapsulated what I like about this story. And without further ado, I would like to welcome to the program Nahum Villamil Garces. Welcome, Nahum.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for this invitation. And as I told you before, I really like this podcast in general, so it's a pleasure for me.
Thanks. That's great to hear. But Nahum, really wanted to congratulate you. First of all, you, as we'll get into eventually, you gave Hikaru a real fight. So Nahum's rated about 1900, but I ran it through the Lee Chess game analyzer. Hikaru scored like a 95, and Nahum was also in the 90s. So a very high quality game where you just got ground down a little bit. But before we get to the game, when did you first hear that Hikaru was playing in this tournament?
First of all, the chess is probably pretty generous. But I heard about Hikaru's joining the tournament around midnight the previous night.
Okay.
I mean, the first round was on Saturday, and I was watching a movie indeed, and we got a group, part of Tulane Chess Club, my university, and some of my friends sent a screenshot like, "This is probably a prank, but I guess Hikaru is joining the tournament." And we all were guessing like, this is probably not true. There is someone pranking. And I heard the story that there is also another player from Louisiana with the same last name,
Yep.
Nakamura. So everybody was thinking that it was him. But when I arrived in the morning to the venue, I was passing by in Loyola University in New Orleans, and I saw him. I was, okay, this is true. And I even make a joke like, "Are you really playing this tournament?" And he was, "Yeah, this is not a joke. I'm playing." And I was like, "Good luck, I guess."
Right. Yeah. He may not need it, but good luck nonetheless. And so you're rated 1900. I know that one of the top seeds is the many-time champion FM Nick Matta. There's certainly some other players over 2000. When you didn't play him in the first round, did you think it was realistic that you might end up playing Hikaru?
A friend of mine went that day, and I was talking to him like, "Hey, I really want to play this guy." It's like playing one of your childhood idols. So I need to win my first game, hopefully my second, and I will have a chance. I was thinking on the ratings. I was like half of the first half, right? So I was
Hmm.
expecting for him to get me in one of the rounds. And he started with the opposite colors. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I got a chance. And when we finished the second round, I was talking to the organizers, and they didn't remember me well.
Right.
I'm kind of new in Louisiana's chess, and they say, "Hey, there is this guy from Colombia that is playing Hikaru," and I was, "Wait, what? Are you serious?" I thought they were joking with me, and it was me. So it was really fun.
Amazing. And did you feel extra nervous once you know you're playing him?
I wasn't nervous. To be honest, I was thrilling. I was completely in shock. I sent screenshots to my mom, to my dad, to my friends, and I was just excited. Everybody was telling me, of course, everyone is making jokes like, "Yeah, you got this. He's the easiest one." And I was like, okay, if I happen to prep anything, he's probably going to know better anything I can find, right? So I'm just gonna try to play the chess I kind of know and hope for the best. Or as I call with my friends, play and pray.
Play and pray. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask about prep. It seems, I mean, at his level, he just knows the openings that super GMs say they don't know. They know 20 moves of theory. And the other thing is they're very good at the psychological dynamics of sniffing out if you've done a lot of prep, and they can always change. So you didn't look at a single line before playing him?
No, I wasn't looking for anything at all. I kind of knew that he was going to play something annoying for the. He's a super grandmaster. He's going to make you suffer a little bit on the board, right? I was okay. And the first move, he played C4, and I was expecting, oh no, I hate to play the English. And then I played knight F6. I was hoping for a transposition to a queen's pawn, like a traditional, like I was hoping for a king's Indian indeed. As I can recall, I grew up as a kid watching his game when I was trying to learn the king's Indian. I was watching his games, Kasparov games, Bashir Lagrav's games. And I remember his game against Gelfand in 2010. And I was, this will be fun if I happen to play a King's Indian against Hikaru.
Yeah.
But he ended up playing G3, which is an annoying setup, but it was fun for me.
Yeah, and it was, you did do the kingside fianchetto. Like I would qualify. I don't know if it has another name, but to me, it's a King's Indian. And yeah, obviously that's intimidating because he's legendary for some of his attacking wins and has been playing the opening since he was a kid. And then, so you mentioned you weren't nervous before the game, but then sitting across the board from him, I already interviewed Richard Campbell, the director, and he did mention that you're offset a little bit. They got the GGT board, and basically Hikaru is like 10 to 15 feet from the other players, as I understand it, which you were in this case too. And obviously, you're going to have a lot more spectators than you're used to checking in on your game, not even to think of all the people watching online. So, this is a long way of asking. Once the game starts, do you feel heightened nerves? Do you feel extra nervous?
I wasn't nervous at all at the beginning, but to be honest, when it started, I started to feel the pressure in the sense, especially when you are doing like this, focusing with your head just in the board. You look up a little bit and you find his face.
Right.
And I was telling a friend that he's not into chess, but I was trying to explain that he's running against Usain Bolt, right?
Right.
It's something like that. So in that moment, you start to feel the pressure. And also when everybody's passing by, checking you, looking at you like, what are you doing? Like, come on. It's like during those moments, you start to believe, am I playing well? I'm doing this correctly or not? So during those seconds, and especially when he start playing fast, during those moments that he's spending less than 0 seconds per move, you're looking.
Yeah. So did he play quickly throughout the game?
He played quickly, but I think that he spent some minutes gladly.
Okay. Yeah. No,
when he
again, go ahead.
when he started spending some minutes, I start thinking, okay, maybe I'm not doing that bad, and I can find some decent moves.
Yeah, I mean, again, he had to take it to the end game. He only had a small edge, so you definitely held your own. And of course, Hikaru at the board is known for a few things. One, looking at the ceiling.
Yeah.
Was he looking at the ceiling when he was playing? Was he focused? Did he get up from the board much? What was his approach in what is not his typical tournament?
He was looking at the ceiling many times, especially when he's trying to remember a variation or he's probably wondering what is best to make his opponent uncomfortable in the board, but he walks a lot in general, so it was okay. But there was a moment that he was focusing, and I was pretty happy during that moment because I started thinking, okay, maybe I'm happening to play a proper game. I ended up screwing it at the end, but
Right.
during the first 30 moves, it was awesome for me.
Yeah, sometimes you go in with the goal of making a draw, and then you're like, all right, I just want to make him think. If I can at least make him pause for a minute, I'll consider that a win. And you definitely did that. So after the game, did you have any interactions with him? I know you mentioned in your post that you got a picture, a photo.
Yeah, we got the pictures. We talk a little bit. I make some jokes, but I mean the most special part is probably that he analyzed the game and having a one of your own games being analyzed for one of the top players in the world is great.
This is with you or on his stream?
He did it for the stream. He told me a couple of ideas on the board. That
Mm-hmm.
was great. So yeah.
That's awesome. And you said in your post this was your first tournament in the U.S.?
Yeah, my first classical official tournament. I think my last official tournament was 2014. I mean, I used to play a lot of when I was a kid till 2011, 2012. I happened to play many national tournaments, a couple of international tournaments under 14. But I quit for studying, right? I focus on my studies, but I keep playing in the sense that I like it. So I play some blitz tournaments or some rapid tournaments, but not a single classic game since 2014.
Wow. So were you more nervous just returning to your first classical game in over 10 years in round one or playing Hikaru in round three?
My idea was like this. I was telling my friends because I'm kind of exhausted of playing classical in the sense that I don't got many time right now with my studies and it demands a lot of effort. So I was telling them the only tournament I'm willing to play is the Louisiana State Championship because
Mm-hmm.
in New Orleans there was Paul Murphy, there was Carlos Torre Repeto, the legendary Mexican player,
Yeah.
the creator of the windmill, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was okay. I would love to play this tournament. And the previous year, was in a different city, and I was kind of upset because it was far away. And okay, if it happens to be again in New Orleans, I'm definitely playing. And this year, I signed up like really happy. The people of Tulane Chess Club, they indeed helped me with the registration. They were really nice, and I ended up getting Hikaru too. So I was more, to be honest, I was more nervous with the tournament itself than
Mm-hmm.
than playing Hikaru in that moment because that was just a moment of joy.
That's that's really heartening to hear. Yeah, and that little post you wrote was so poetic and it got shared so many places. Did you spend a lot of time crafting that?
No, not at all. I must say that I study literature, so maybe sometimes I know how to write, but it
Right.
was something that I felt indeed. So yeah, probably the thing that I was thinking more or the most is what example to develop in the sense that I was trying to explain my non-chess friends how will it feel in terms of other sports. So probably
Yeah.
football, soccer, football as I call it is the most famous, and I was okay. This is a good example on Ronaldinho.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about it a lot because on the one hand there's been this sort of controversy online about people saying this is not how candidate spots should be decided. That's fair, but I also feel like chess sometimes has this problem from a fan perspective of with a sport like football slash soccer, you feel a natural affinity with whatever your team is, often based on where you grew up or family ties or something like that, and you feel a deep sense of connection with these people. But with chess and on the pitch or on the court, depending on what the sport may be, they do some kind of spellbinding things that are just obviously out of this world. In chess, people grandmasters calculate at an out of this world level, but it's harder to just admire it as a fan. It's harder to appreciate it, and it's harder to connect with people because chess is an individual sport and you may not necessarily feel like a sense of great kinship with this huge genius who's you've never met before. But so I felt like something like this, it brings so much to the community. Like I could just, you're only the second person I've interviewed, but around this podcast, but just seeing the posts online, you could just see the New Orleans chess community light up. And I feel like that's something that chess needs to tap into. It's a good thing. I'm guessing based on your experience, you agree?
Yeah, completely. I can make an example. Again, this idea of explaining to my non-chess friends and family members. This was like facing Cristiano Ronaldo, right? And there was a lot of kids asking for pictures. He was taking pictures with everybody, signing boards, chatting. Is that kind of connection with a community that wasn't expecting a super GM to show up for a random tournament, right? That
Yeah.
was so special. I mean, I can say 100%, but I can tell you that I'm sure 99% of people were happy in the tournament.
Yeah.
In that sense, it's like even people that were hoping to win the tournament were even expecting with more willing to play him than to win the tournament, right? So it's that sense of
Yeah.
experience that is incredible. And I can tell you this, for example, back when I was a teenager that I got coaches, I remember one of my coaches, he indeed is a GM. I had a good coach and he used to play for Colombian team in Olympiads. And he used to say, hey, in this tournament, I can find Aronian, Ivanchuk, and Nan.
Yeah.
Anand didn't play too many Olympiads back then, but all those people. But it was an Olympiad. Now imagine finding one of these guys in your state tournament.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, well said. And so your first tournament, as you mentioned, busy graduate student, you're actually joining me from a literary conference in Mexico, which I really appreciate you're taking the time to do. But dare I ask, are you going to play another tournament anytime soon?
Right now, I'm completely willing to play the Louisiana State Tournament again. Maybe Carson will show up.
Exactly. I made the same
No,
joke to
but
Richard Campbell.
yeah, I mean, but joke aside, I really love to play Blitz, for example. So
Uh-huh.
whenever they are hosting Blitz tournaments, I'm trying to join. But I'm also always playing in Tulane Chess Club. So this is a shout out for them because they do a really good job, and they are also hosting tournaments in our university. And even, I mean, the current president was the first guy to play Hikaru in this tournament. So they are probably willing to host more tournaments soon. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's nice.
Okay, great. Well, Nahum, this has been amazing to hear your story. And again, just even your post, I felt like it really added a much needed perspective to this, what to me is a great story. Any closing thoughts before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I must say that it's again, it was a pleasure to play this tournament. I almost won the tournament. It was fun
Yeah.
because Hikaru is not from Louisiana, and there was other people that weren't from Louisiana, and we ended up getting into the last round with a tight situation by 3 people. One of them was playing Hikaru, so sadly he wasn't expecting to win.
Right.
But two of us were hoping for it. We lose, but it's okay. And yeah, it was a pleasure. I mean, I ended up being in his channel. I ended up being in Goran Chess channel that I also like a lot.
Yeah.
One of my friends sent me a screenshot of Susan Polgar sharing my picture. So it was a fun time. And yeah, that's a great experience. I'm probably going to tell this my friends for a while. They're going to get tired of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also get invited here, Ben. So I'm really excited about it. And that's all. Maybe this is probably going to incentivize me to return to stream because I like to play chess a lot online and speak. So I do that. I want to do it on a stream again. Maybe people will unite or something like that.
Okay. Well, thanks again. And really appreciate you taking the time, especially considering that you're at a work conference or school conference, whatever you want to call it, some sort of serious conference. So thanks, and I'll let you get back to it.
No, thank you very much, Ben. And thank you again for the invitation. And it's been a pleasure.
And we are here with the Louisiana State end boss. He is a 5-time state champion. He's the highest rated in the state, 2344 USCF currently, although he's been as high as 2399 USCF. In preparing for this interview, I actually discovered he's an amazingly accomplished adult improver. He gained about 1,000 points in his 20s, which I think we're going to discuss in a different interview because for today, obviously, the story of the week, the story of the month is Hikaru's appearance in the Louisiana State Championship. And we're actually recording this on Saturday. So now he's in the Iowa State Championship. I don't know if I'm going to cover that in a podcast, but in any event, excited to talk about his round 6 game and his background and to welcome to the program FIDE master Nick Matta. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me, Ben. It's truly an honor. Been a big fan of the show for quite a while now, so been following, and yeah, I'm glad I can pop in.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm honored to hear that, like I said, and definitely excited to dig into your background a little bit here and more in the future. But what I've been asking everyone in particular about Hikaru's unexpected appearance. So we got the story from Richard Campbell, the organizer, and from Harry and Nahum about how they found out. When did you find out that Hikaru was playing in this tournament?
Yeah, so I saw his registration a couple hours after I had registered rather late for the tournament because I had been living in New York City this past year and then moved back to Louisiana. And I didn't know how many of my opponents would know if I would play or not, so I decided to register on the last day. And then 2 hours later, I checked, and someone had registered as Hikaru Nakamura. I thought, so I'm like, oh, they're trolling me in response to me signing up late. I'm like, okay, we can all sign up late. So then I get told by the organizer that a lot of the information seems to be legit, and that it might actually be Hikaru. So like 10 p.m., I'm getting told this the night before.
So did you text them to inquire, or did they reach out to you, or?
They reached out to me because we're pretty close and like we organize events together, and I think he was just equally excited and just like we had no idea that this was coming. So I think we were all just like trying to figure out, is this real or not, or is this a troll? And yeah, so at that point I was thinking, wait, it might be real. So it was about 10, 11 o'clock the night before that I found out, and I needed to like go for a long walk to like consider this and just kind of get myself ready. So yeah.
Yeah, and Hikaru, of course, recapped your game. He said some kind words about both you and Charles Campbell, who he included in the video since he was his round 7 opponent, who I am hoping to catch up with tomorrow. But one thing that Hikaru astutely pointed out is that he felt like you might be a little less frightened. He said, quote, "The more experience you have playing higher rated players, the less likely you are to be scared of their aura." And you have played Levy Rozman in some of the invitational events and Hans Niemann, according to Hikaru. When did you play Hans?
I've played Hans a few times, but I think the game he's likely referring to is at the World Open in 2023 when Hans was on his like
Oh,
American
wow.
tour.
He won that one, right? Didn't he?
Actually, he struggled with that one. He won, I think, the previous year,
Okay.
but this was while he wasn't getting invites and the whole thing with Magnus had already happened.
Right.
And he was just playing whatever tournaments he could. I think he had just won Vegas and then played the Philly International, which I was also at. And then we got paired very early in board 1 at the World Open.
Okay.
And that was definitely a different experience. I think Hikaru was right that my experience in those other games definitely helped here.
Yeah.
Just having a lot of people watch your games and just knowing how many people were watching. It was interesting playing Levy before because the hardest part of that was knowing Hikaru was commentating on the game.
Right.
So
Yeah,
this time I know Hikaru is playing it, getting the commentary ready instead. But
yeah.
it was a lot easier this time.
Right, that makes sense. And when I interviewed Nahum and Harry, both of them, they're like, Harry, okay, he finds out in the first round he's playing Hikaru, which is most likely the only way a 1500 was going to play him. Nahum was like crunching the numbers to see if he would have a chance. You know, if you do your job, you've won this tournament 5 times. You know, if you do your job, you're going to face him sooner or later. So how heavily was that weighing on you in the earlier rounds?
Oh, tremendously. But I think it was good for me because I haven't been so active since moving back from New York to New Orleans these last few months, just playing some local events mostly. And, you know, after playing the same tournament for many years, you're always looking for new angles of motivation to like really get your best performance against lower rated competition. And so then knowing Hikaru was like on the back burner, like I have to not only like win the games, but make sure I'm playing good chess to prepare for Hikaru.
Right.
No, I felt like every game I was like looking at his game, focusing on mine, just like trying to like consider that it was coming. And actually I drew in round 5 and was like slightly concerned maybe that would mess up my chance to play him, but it worked out in the end. But
Yeah, you played him the very next round, as it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
And the opening, so I was saying before we were recording, we're going to try not to go too deep in the variations. There were some very interesting moments in Nick's game with Hikaru, and I certainly encourage everyone to watch Hikaru's postmortem on his YouTube channel. But briefly, the opening was a Queen's Gambit declined, and you played this Bishop G4 move on move 9 that surprised him. And for people listening, I will throw a few diagrams up on YouTube, but we're not going to go too deep in the weeds. But so had you looked at that specifically, this Bishop G4 move?
Yes, I had. It'd been a while, but I had looked at it in preparation for the US Masters, I guess 2024 last year when Fabi played. I remember it was the same tournament, not for Fabi, but
right.
I had looked at it for that tournament. So it's to say I've looked at it, but it had been quite a while since I looked at Bishop G4 in that position because Knight F3 is more of a rare move. But it does present certain challenges to black, because usually black's trying to get a very specific type of plan, attacking on the king side if white goes pawn f3 rather than
Yeah.
knight f3. And
Yeah,
so
build.
I knew bishop g4 was an active attempt at trying to solve black's problems, but there's this queen b3 counterattack, which might entail a pawn sacrifice. I wasn't fully up to date or fresh on the details of it, but I just knew the engine thought it was fine.
Right.
And I thought, if nothing else, I should represent that I'm prepared to Hikaru. Like I'm showing I'm prepared, but it's like a semi bluff in some ways, because I would have had to start thinking right away.
Okay. Yeah, and that alone gets to what gets to what he was saying about your experience playing strong players. You knew that it's important that he think that you're prepared, whether you are or not.
Yeah, because I figured Hikaru would prefer to not go into any forcing variations where I have the opportunity to just play engine lines, or that he would
Yeah.
interpret it as such. And so therefore, I wanted to represent that I had the potential for that, even though I was kind of bluffing with it. I
That's
didn't
funny.
remember the engine lines, but I was like, okay, he might do something different. And if he does, it's still the correct move. It's still the move I would play. But that was the difference between me playing it in 2 minutes versus like 8. I just decided to play it at
Good
that
for
point.
you. Yeah, and Hikaru has alluded to exactly that psychological dynamic in some of his recaps, where he does want to try to keep things quiet and try to keep things in slightly more offbeat channels. But so the game proceeds, and you do this bishop h5 to bishop g6 maneuver to trade the bishops. And before you know it, you're playing this move g5 that was quite risky. Lower rated players are always taught not to move pawns in front of their kings, and it looks like he can take it, but then you can unveil your knight, but you're kind of moving your queen into the line of fire. And what Hikaru said in the post-mortem on his channel was that you blitzed this out. So that was a bluff as well?
No, so actually, I thought he had bluffed me on the previous move with f4, because when I played bishop h5, I had to consider the possibility of f4, because my intention with bishop h5 was to go bishop g6 on the next turn. And so once I play bishop h5, if he goes f4, now my bishop g6 would be responded with f5, trapping my bishop.
Right.
So I needed some solution to my bishop potentially getting trapped like that. And so when I played bishop h5, I had already seen f4 g5, because I think if I don't have that, I haven't checked, but my feeling during the game was that I was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost felt forced in a way. And when he was thinking before playing f4, I thought initially it was going to be one of those Hikaru moments where he plays the move in a minute. That was the energy I was sensing from him. And he's very expressive, and I've watched him play so much over the years, because he's definitely been one of the favorite players of mine. He was going to do that, and then he realized something, and then he needed to think for another 5 minutes or so, and then ended up playing f4 anyway. So my read on it was he played f4 to kind of test the waters to see if I'd even be willing to do that. I could be wrong, but that was my thought during the game. So I thought g5 almost feels forced in my mind. It feels like the absolute correct move.
Again, yeah. Well, again, it's just not an easy move to play against Hikaru, but I mean, that's why you're, 2400 USCF, is you've learned to think concretely rather than in these sort of vague feelings of safety,
Yeah, at least for a long enough time in the game. I think eventually I reverted back to wanting to be a little too safe.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think...
Yeah, that's the move I wanted to get to next, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I felt like one thing that I took from the games against Hans and against Levy is that you can really feel, or at least I could, the pressure of all the eyes on you, and there's like this objective test in front of you that's kind of like adjacent to playing the engine. Like, like if you make a mistake, it's supposed to be punished. Just intellectually, like that's what you're kind of expecting. And I could feel it for the first 5 minutes or so during the game against Hikaru again. But then I made a conscious decision after my moves I was going to walk away from the board and just kind of loosen up a bit and just play freely. And to some degree, I can't control my understanding of chess at that moment in time. Like, my understanding is what it is, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I burn a lot of time and get down 30, 40 minutes against Hikaru, no matter the position, I'm probably going to be toast later on. So I thought it was really critical I manage my time and just kind of play freely, show him that I'm willing to make any move, even if it's risky on the surface, if I really believe in it. Whereas against Hans, I played like very tight. I played like a Petrov. I played what I was trying to play, like correct, proper engine chess. And I didn't want to make any mistakes intentionally, but I guess I was less afraid to, because I thought not taking any risk is a risk in of itself. So I have to just choose my risk here and just kind of decide when is the time to let go and just trust your hand.
Okay. brilliantly said, echoes of when I interviewed Mark Heyman, who of course had those standout results where he ascended from international master to grandmaster, and he was describing what it was like to play Fabiano, and he kind of put himself, he's a naturally fast player, but he kind of put himself in through those exact same sort of sequence of thoughts. Well, if I think for too long every move, I'm defeating myself. So I'd rather just play freely and whatever happens, happens. But again, it's easier said than done. I think anyone listening, myself included, like no matter who you are, when you're playing someone significantly higher rated, the same psychological dynamics come into play. Obviously, Hikaru is on a whole nother level, but still, great lessons there.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just important to remember these guys are human, and there's a certain limitation to how much they can show their strength in a singular move or just even a few moves. It's really a matter of the consistency that they have game to game, tournament to tournament, and just throughout the game, they don't really error much at all. But a good chess move is a good chess move, and that's not going to change no matter who's across the chessboard. So I think you just have to trust where you're at in your understanding. I would say probably one thing that helped me a lot with doing this, because time trouble used to be a huge weakness of mine. I used to be chronically in time pressure in my games. Thinking inside the box by Agard was like really helpful for me, and just diagnosing what type of decision I was confronted with, and if calculation would really be what justified making the move. For example, with G5, I think whether I talk myself into G5 or not isn't going to be so calculation based, because I can see that he can't take the pawn because of knight G4. And so then he's going to play bishop G3, and then I just have to assess the position. There's not much calculation to it beyond that. It just comes down to making the decision. So that's why I gave myself a little bit more of a pass, because I thought Agard would probably consider it like either a simple decision or maybe a strategic decision, but not like critical.
Yeah, there's like simple, complex, strategic, and automatic or something like that. He had like 4 branches in thinking inside the box. But yeah, definitely a fantastic book and great lessons there. So I do want to get to the move you mentioned earlier, what Hikaru highlighted as your big mistake in the game. So you end up, your pawn's on G5, as we mentioned. And again, we're not trying not to go too deep into the variations, but you went G4, and then that pawn kind of became a weakness and your king side was a bit overextended, and he was able to kind of take control from there. Any sort of broad lesson from that mistake? What type of mistake was that?
It's a great question, because it's kind of a 2-move mistake in a way, because I played bishop D3 on the previous turn, which compelled his rook to move once it was threatened. And then it was back in my court. The ball was back in my court, that is. And the best move and the only good move is for me to retreat exactly where I just was, which sort of implies that move was the mistake too. I think probably as much an emotional mistake as it was a chess mistake, because you have this realization that, oh, I'm doing really well against Hikaru. I understood I'm probably slightly better because I have 2 bishops, I have space, his pieces aren't exactly coordinated. And I think I was trying to prove that advantage on the board too directly and too immediately, when I could have just maintained all my flexibility and maintained the tension on the king side. But I think when you play stronger players, there's always this feeling that compels you to try to control the game by creating threats and playing your forcing options right away, because you want clarity against someone like Hikaru. You don't want to give him so many options because maybe you're missing something or misevaluating it. And I think I got a little too ambitious in trying to like execute the advantage right away. The other thing is I miscalculated something where my original intention after rook f2 was knight e4, which would have left my king side horribly weak. So I think it was like a multitude of mistakes, but I think probably I allowed the adrenaline and excitement of having this opportunity against Hikaru get the best of me, and I was playing too aggressively in reaction to that.
Right.
Rather than seeing my opportunity as a chance to control the position rather than strike at it. Is the way I'm kind of reflecting on it at this point.
That's instructive too, because it's like you're trying to walk a fine line, because you mentioned it's to your credit that you played fearlessly, but then you went a step too far, and then you achieved the advantage, and too much of a good thing. And I think, again, a lot of players are faced with that moment where you put a piece somewhere and then you realize it doesn't belong there. And you're like, well, do I really want to move it back? And sometimes you just have to move it back. So yeah, very relatable lessons. But looking more big picture, Nick, so as we were chatting for a minute before we recorded, you described this as the experience of a lifetime. So
Yeah.
it's kind of obvious, but what specifically made this so special for you?
Oh, so many things. I mean, um, I always get really excited every year for the state championship in Louisiana, having won it 5 times now. My playing ambition, because, at this level, I'm not going to become a GM too soon or maybe ever, who knows? It's hard at this stage in my life. The state championship feels like as big of a stage as I'll get to play it on like a social level. Like, it's important here. We have a trophy that's been around since the 70s that as a kid I always idolized and wanted to be a part of too. It was really cool to get to play in it, especially after being in New York this past year, and I wasn't sure I was actually going to be back. My move happened a little prematurely before I was expecting it to, but I had the opportunity to play again. And with that being said, I do have some ambitions of going down as like Louisiana's best player, son's Paul Morphy. The guy will be hard to catch, but
Right.
having the chance to play Hikaru on that stage where I'm trying to leave my imprint, and I think a lot of players or artists always hope to have their like immortal game or like moment or achievement, whatever it is, something that lasts quite a while. And I was like, oh my God, I had the chance to play Hikaru. This could be the one, because I was like, well, I got to play Hans and that was cool. And I got to play Levy and that was like really great too. But Hikaru, like one of my chess heroes in my hometown for the tournament, I literally get excited for every year for over a decade now. I didn't even think I'd get to play. I thought I'd be in New York this past year. So yeah, it was really special for that. But also because I was like in the midst of the move, unsure of how far I would continue the adult improving project, just because I do have quite a bit of rating to go till I have one norm, but I need to get about like 130 FIDE at this point or so. And I'm 31. It's possible, but it's going to take some time. And whether I was going to invest that time and money in tournaments, I wasn't fully decided on. But this definitely kicked that hope and ambition back into gear, and kind of gave me a chance to, at least for this tournament, really get back into like the full swing of like tournament chess at the highest level. So it was kind of like a reawakening for me as well, besides just being like the chance that, you always dream of.
That's awesome to hear. And hearing you mention the trophy reminded me, I wanted to ask you, Hikaru in his postmortem mentioned that you were 5 to 10 minutes late. For less experienced players, it's normal to be late to a tournament game. People can just start, unless it's like, unless it's like a professional event where they might have rules against it. But in a weekend tournament, it's normal to be late. People just start your clock and that's that. And he mentioned you were walking in with the trophy, which I was like, what? But I guess it's like a rotating trophy. Is that why you were walking in with it?
Yeah, exactly. Because had I not won the trophy again and finishing top resident, it would have gone to someone else that day. So I was asked to bring it back as his custom. So it just so happened I was bringing it back right before the game with Hikaru.
Right.
And then I have a roommate who told me, Nick, you should put on these sunglasses.
Yeah, he mentioned the sunglasses too. That's right.
Yeah. And then I thought, wait, there's this whole nod to the Singfeld Cup that Hikaru played in like years ago where he wore the sunglasses and that was a whole fad and like
right. And Korchnoi, of course, iconic picture with sunglasses against Karpov in the late 70s in the famed yogurt match, which listeners should research that if they haven't. But you took him off for the actual game?
Yeah, I did, but I had to give some nod to Hikaru, like, I have to wear these. I think kind of like when I was talking about walking up on the board, you kind of have to just completely be yourself, and that will be the strongest version that your high-rated opponent will get to experience. So I like to be kind of vibrant and confident and expressive in general. I wasn't going to not be that for Hikaru. I tried to double down on it, if anything.
I love it. And the 5 to 10 minutes late thing, were you doing any last minute opening cramming or did you like not even bother when it's Hikaru?
Not even bother. I decided what I would play if he played D4 or E4 or C4, because I have various choices within my repertoire, but I had made the mental decision of what I would do. I didn't check any lines. After 5 games in 2 days, leading up to that, I mostly focused on rest, eating, just some like mental clarifying, just trying to make sure I was in the best position possible to play a 2700 player. I felt like if I come ready to play in that form, which rarely, but sometimes I can tap into that form, I feel. If I can show up as that version of myself, then I have a chance. And if not, then I don't. And whether I know the opening or not probably won't dictate that. So I just made sure my energy was at the best it could be.
More wise words there. Okay, and one of my last questions for this interview, how was the postmortem?
Oh, the postmortem was great. Like, I think there's many things I'm happy about and enjoyed about the experience, but that's certainly up there. Hikaru was tremendously respectful in that time, but also all of the time with the player. There were things that we both agreed on or like shared differently about the game. And I think in summary, I would say it really felt like I was a contemporary with Hikaru, and Hikaru was being like gracious enough to even give me the chance to feel like that's the case, because he could be dismissive over certain things I suggest or be more competitive about it, even if politely he still could.
You're
But
saying
he was,
he has the right to, but
yeah, exactly. I mean, I respect him so much, and
yeah,
whatever he would say about the chess position, I would likely just try to learn from. But
right.
he was really, really respectful and made me feel like we're equals analyzing the game. And then we're surrounded by maybe 20, 30 people, including a lot of students that I teach. I was really excited that they got the chance to see someone from Louisiana playing at that level and analyzing and just normalizing that someone from there could at least touch the greatness that Hikaru, is. And yeah, truly was like a dream come true type of experience.
Amazing. And then finally, you have to play another game after that.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to like root for 3 different players who were half a point ahead of me as Louisiana residents to have certain results in their games, because I had a draw in round 5 and then lost to Hikaru in round 6. So there's some people that didn't play Hikaru, some people that did, but then were 5-0 in the other games. And I have to play this next game. I played really well for that game. I think the Hikaru game just like had me like on the biggest chess high I've had in a while, and was just like
Right.
also caffeinated that I had people bring me these like large lattes and shots of
Nice.
espresso while I'm playing Hikaru so I could like perform my best. So my round 6 or round 7 opponent rather, I was just like totally jolted against, and it was a good game. But it's the type of chess experience that just makes you really eager to play your next tournament, whenever that is.
Yeah, and that's why I love this story, and it's come up a few times in the other conversations that I've already recorded. There's been some criticism of it, but my belief, I mean, I love to see him in Iowa now as we record this on Saturday. I just think more chances. I mean, they do fantasy camps in sports for a reason, where these people will pay a lot of money to go just play on the field, of a stadium, or get to hear from, former great, or in this case, current great. And so to me, it's basically the candidate cycle notwithstanding, it's just an unequivocal good. And it sounds like it's really energized the entire Louisiana chess community.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think every chess player hopes to have their little moment that gets in like into a chess book or some magazine, or like they make their imprint on chess in some way. And Hikaru gave us all the opportunity to do that and to just aspire for more. Everyone in the Louisiana chess community, I think, appreciated his presence there, not just playing the games, but the time he took to analyze with everyone after the game, signing autographs very graciously, like he always does. I was the person that theoretically would have the biggest issue just as like the defending champion, like, oh, I've got to play a car, or maybe I can't win my state championship. And I would have made that trade 100 times out of 100 times. Like if I lose to Hikaru, but as a result of that can't keep the trophy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of money out of your pocket too, to be fair.
I actually won no money for winning the state championship because there were some
Right.
other non-Louisiana players that got 6. So it was funny to receive the trophy and be the state champion, but I won 0 prize money. But I think to schedule Hikaru to play a classical game with you would cost a lot more than what I paid in the entry fee and lost in prize money. So but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, how much was first?
800, which was
Okay.
gonna always go to Hikaru.
Yeah.
If he didn't play, then I suppose maybe I would have had a good chance at that. But that's just another New York or in general round robin tournament entry fee. That's just another chess tournament. So I would trade that any day, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Well, Nick, I definitely want to chat again. You're an accomplished and knowledgeable trainer, and you've gained insane amount of points. So hopefully later this year we can do a longer interview and chat about more than just Hikaru. But I feel like you've already shared a ton of insights, and I think there's a lot of broadly applicable lessons from what you've said. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye for this time?
I appreciate that. And yeah, I would love to get together another time, because chess improvement and adult improvement's literally my life. So I would love to chat it up. No, I think whenever you feel like you're at the end of your rope with chess, it's continue to be the case that if I just hold on a little bit longer, just kind of wait for my turn at having a moment, whatever that moment is, it seems to always work out. And I always tell people the people that succeed in chess are the ones that just stick with it for a while. So I was on the fringe of considering myself at least like semi-retired in the sense of having ambitions towards the IM title and being a tournament player on the circuit. And I got to play Hikaru. So stick with it, guys.
Nice.
What happened?
Yeah.
I guess
Or as they said in The Godfather, just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. All right, Nick. Well, great to chat, and we'll do it again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ben.
And we are here with Hikaru Nakamura's 7th round opponent. He is a national master who played for Nigeria in the Olympiads in both 2008 and 2010. He's also the founder of the Candy Chess Academy back in Nigeria. And I am pleased to welcome to the program Charles Campbell. Welcome, Charles.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited to chat. I'm getting to meet a lot of Louisiana sort of stalwarts of the chess scene, yourself included. So listeners will have heard my interview with FM Nick Matta, who you drew in the tournament just before ours. Like Nick, are you a regular in the Louisiana State Championship?
No, I'm not. I mean, the last time I played was, I think that was 2018, 2019, thereabouts, in the state championship. And I actually won the Blitz Golds then. But I don't think they've been having a Blitz event for a while now. So this was like my return, so to speak. And I was hoping to crown it with the state championship, but instead I got a tactical lesson from Hikaru in the final round, which more or less compensates for not winning the state championship.
And a story, and a good story to go along with it. Yeah, and Charles, unlike Nick, who we interviewed, and the others who were the two Tulane students, he's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So in addition to the grueling schedule of a typical weekend Swiss, Charles was commuting back and forth. But Charles, I've been asking everyone when they found out Hikaru was playing, and I'd like to hear your story as well, since you yourself don't always play in this tournament.
Yeah, I signed up for the tournament a few days before, and I remember looking at the entry list, I looked at all plays, and I said, okay, this looks like a pretty good field, a nice field. And then I signed up, and I didn't go there until I didn't visit the site until Saturday when I actually drove down there. And when I got into the hall, he was like one of the first people I saw. I said, I didn't see his name because I know him, right? So I was like, this was Hikaru. I mean, what? And then I went back and looked, and lo and behold, in the flesh, Hikaru Nakamura, Super GM. So it was exciting, and that immediately raised the profile of the tournament, in my opinion, and it gave everyone something to really, really look forward to.
Of course, yeah. So you've had interactions with Hikaru before?
Yeah, at the Olympiad.
Right, yeah. Back when he was a young pup.
He probably doesn't remember, but we've chatted a couple of times informally.
Okay, so this is, again, the 2008 and 2010 Olympiad. Did Nigeria play the U.S. in either of those years?
No, we didn't.
Okay, but you saw him around, and obviously...
Yeah, I saw him around, yeah. Obviously, you'd want to meet, like, the top chess players around. You want to make friends, take pictures. I didn't take pictures with him then, which was what I took. I think I took one with Judith Polgar then. Mm-hmm. She was, like, one of my idols, because I'm very big into getting girls also into chess. So I used that also as a tool to get girls to get involved and giving them the opportunity and that mentality that, I mean, they're not in any way inferior to the guys and they can do just whatever they put their minds to.
Yeah, 100% agree. So you see Hikaru is playing, and I'm guessing there might be a type of person who wouldn't want to play him. Everyone I've talked to wanted to play him. As soon as they saw they were in it, they were hoping they'd get that opportunity. Did you want to play him as well?
Yeah, to be honest, I was hoping not to, because I wanted to become state champion.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, but once I saw the pairing and I saw it was him, I was like, okay, it probably compensates, you know. Plus, I mean, who knows? Anything could happen. Yeah. Chances are it's unlikely, but anything could happen. So let's go for it and let's just have fun.
Yeah, and what was the score situation? So going into the last round, Hikaru has 6. Did you have 5.5?
I had 5.
You had 5. Nick?
I won my first 3 games, and I took a bye in the 4th round. I didn't play. And then I played Nick in the 5th round, which was a draw. and then I won the 6th. So I
Okay.
was coming in on 5 out of 6.
And how many other people did anyone have 5.5? And how many others had 5?
At that
Well,
point,
Nick, I guess, had 4.5 because he had already.
yeah, Nick had 4.5
Right.
at that point. So I was like in the top bracket at that time. I think the only one ahead of me at that time was Hikaru.
Okay.
It was Hikaru at 6, and then a bunch of us on 5.
Yeah.
If I'm
So
not
if he plays a
mistaken.
different 5, then you've got a pretty
Exactly.
clear path. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, you have to play one of the best players of all time instead of getting a clean shot at the state trophy. So did you do any opening prep once you got the pairing?
Nah, I mean it was Hikaru, so I just relied on residual knowledge. I've done a lot of theoretical study in the past. I was born in an age where there were no computers, so you had to read the books. And that I did. I read lots of books. I'm very big on my system. That was my staple. I read that book like 3, 4, 5 times over.
It's been a
And it
controversial book
really
here on this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just because
It's my number.
yeah, it was one of my first chess books too, and I liked it when I read
Yeah.
it, but then I revisited it and I didn't like it as much. And then Alex
Yeah.
Fishbein has actually redone it and done a nice
Yeah,
job and
I think I saw that one.
made
Yeah,
it more
I saw that one.
readable.
But it gives you the basics of what you need, how to
Yeah.
actually think as a chess player. And then the rest of it you could just get from other sources. But it gives you the basics, the background that you need, the
Yeah.
foundation.
And of course, we come from a generation where that wasn't so easy to come by. Now there's a million resources. I mean, people can just
Mhm.
go through the online lessons if that's their thing, or
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
been so many classic books since then. So you decided not to prepare for Hikaru.
I mean, plus the pairings only came out like 30 minutes before the round.
Yeah.
So what was I going to do? I was like, okay. I
So-
mean, even if I peeked at a few of his games, but there was so, I mean, it
Yeah,
was he played everything. So
and it really shows
I
the
was like-
value of, I mean, we can't all be super GMs, you know, we have jobs and stuff, but it shows the
Exactly.
value that also when I talk to Nick, like you can't even consider preparing for him, you know,
You
like
can't.
you have
You
0% chance.
Where do you start?
Yeah.
You've got 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, let's just go over there and play chess. And that's what eventually happened.
Yeah. And you really don't have a choice. So you've got a half an hour before the game. What did you do? Did you go for a walk? Did you just kind of mill around? Were you shoveling food in your mouth? What was going on?
First thing I did was drink some water.
Yeah.
I drank some water and then I just sat down and someone else now came over and reiterated the fact to me that I was playing Hikaru. I said, okay, cool. And then I went back, I looked up a few of his games. Like I said, there was a ton of information that he basically responds in so many different ways. So there was really no way I could drill down and focus on one particular. But I knew I was going to play a Queen's Pawn game. So I tried to steer it in a direction that I wanted it to go. But he ended up doing the same to me, like in reverse. He steered it in his way after I had gone into an IQP position. So it was a good learning experience for me, to be honest. It taught me, and one of the biggest things I learned from that game was you don't always have to like go with the theory willy-nilly. You should be perceptive enough to know when to break rank and then go with something that's maybe not original, but something that's not so commonly played.
Yeah.
I was thinking I was going into an IQP position that I would be familiar with. But in hindsight, and he mentioned it also after the game, to be honest, in hindsight, I might have taken that pawn on d4 with the knight instead of the pawn and still held a very solid position, symmetrical position.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Once the pawns are symmetrical, it's pretty difficult to break through.
Yeah. Well, even as the game went, so as Charles said, it was a Queen's Gambit decline, although you played the Vienna variation where you kind of delay and then take on c4. But you were right in it for a very long time, just made a mistake in the end game. He was pretty complimentary of you in the recap video. Did you, I assume you've watched his video at some point?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I have. Yeah, he was really complimentary of me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. He's a top guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you get a chance to chat with him after the game at all?
We chatted a little bit, maybe like 5-10 minutes, and then I had to leave.
Oh, wow.
because
You
I
you had
I
to
was
leave. That's
thinking
a power move. Sorry. Sorry,
I was
Hikaru. I
I
gotta
was
go.
in my head I was thinking about the drive back, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I want to head out now that it's still daylight.
I would love to do a postmortem with you, Hikaru, but I'm too busy. um, no, it's understandable though.
We talked for like 5-10 minutes though after the game. We talked over a few lines, and I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah. And so in the postmortem, he highlighted this mistake you made. I believe it was H4, right?
H4 trying to break up the thing with H4 is you feel, because the truth is you feel the pressure coming, and instinctively you feel you have to react to it. That's where H4 came from, because all I could see was, okay, his pawns on the king side would just storm my king side and then create an entry point for his king to come in. And once the king walks in, that's the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I was doing was trying to complicate the position a little and create some attacking threats of my own, which ended up not working.
Yeah, it's one of those positions where the engine wants to go bishop f2 and you look at it and it just seems like a random move, at least at first glance. Like I also chatted with Nick about the decisive mistake in his game, and his was both fascinating from a psychological perspective, but also kind of a bit more glaring as a mistake. Like you could see pretty clearly. Whereas with yours, I played through the game and I watched Hikaru's video, but I would need to look for another 15 minutes. Like I still don't really know why H4 was a mistake. So it shows that it was a high quality game. And I ran it through the Lichess engine and you made no big mistakes. You made him earn it. So I guess that's small comfort at least.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think the point where it started going south for me was after I went into the IQP position. Because if I'd kept it symmetrical, I would have stood a good chance.
And so, Charles, did you feel heightened nerves during this game? As Colin McGarty pointed out in his chess.com recap, like you're someone who's played on a big stage, having been at the Olympiad, but still playing Hikaru is something different. Were you able to focus on the game as you played?
Yeah, I did. I focused on the game. I've learned to focus more on what's in front of you rather than the person that's in front of you, But it's the only thing I'd say, to be honest, was that there was, even though you feel like you're giving it your best, at the back of your mind, there's still this sense of inevitability.
Yeah.
You know what's likely going to happen, but they're hanging in and still doing your best, being happy that you're doing your best, and just hoping that somehow he could make an error that you could profit from. It was
Yeah, I bet. And then from the tournament perspective, so okay, you're about 600 USCF points lower rated, but you want to win the state championship. Were you of the mindset of a draw obviously is fantastic, or did you have to think about winning too from a tournament perspective?
No, once we ended that IQP position and he played F5, I was like, okay, the best time I get here would be a draw.
Right.
But I was also, a part of me was saying, hey, why don't you offer him a draw?
Right.
See if he accepts. So then the other part of me says, if you do that, that's probably disrespectful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I was caught between those two. I wasn't sure. I take that back. He probably wouldn't have accepted even if I offered him a draw.
100% he wouldn't have. Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't. So I was like, okay, let's just play this out and see how this goes.
Yeah. I mean, he's got some wiggle room in terms of the candidate cycle. He's firmly ahead of Fabiano for the rating spot, but these guys, they guard their rating points like they're,
Yeah. That draw will have cost him a bunch of points. So.
Yeah, for sure. So even if on merit the game,
he would still try to squeeze it out. Yeah,
he's gonna try to extract every last bit that he can. So no heightened nerves. Did you get up from the board much?
I did.
Okay,
I did. I don't like sitting down for that long. I drink a lot of water, so I end up using the bathroom quite often during the game, and I just like to walk around, take in the scenery, and see what's happening on other boards.
Yeah.
But the truth is, what's happened on your board always follows you wherever you go.
Yeah.
You're not completely zoned out.
It's just a way to disconnect, maybe think from a different perspective.
It's like to disconnect and then reconnect somehow, maybe with some kind of fresh perspective, like you said.
Yeah. So you end up just missing the state championship. That's a bummer. Did you win a prize or no?
I'm not even sure right now, to be honest.
Okay,
I
so
think I did.
that wasn't a priority. If you
I think I did. It wasn't
y-
for me. It was just a title.
yeah. Yeah, it would be nice for sure. And did you get a picture with Hikaru or
I didn't.
okay.
That's one thing I actually regret not doing.
I think there might be a few online, but it's not, yeah, it would be good to have one. Maybe at
Yeah.
next year's state championship.
Chances are he might not come.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I gather so the earlier interviews I recorded were during the week last week, but then yesterday I recorded with Nick and we saw he's in Iowa. Did you hear that he's in Iowa right
I
now?
heard. Yeah, I heard. I saw that yesterday also, doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to follow. I could really get used to this. It's a shame we probably only get one more after this, but
Yeah. And I also heard he playing all these events on his own dime. So that's also, I mean,
he's
it's
got
not
a lot
that
of
bad.
dimes.
Exactly. He's not like you or I, so that also helps.
Yeah, for sure. And Charles, so you mentioned my system briefly before we go. As someone who does some chess teaching, do you have any other sort of core beliefs about how to get better at chess?
Yeah, for me, the number one thing is never pass up an opportunity to play against someone who's stronger than you are.
That's great advice. Such as,
For
say,
me,
Hikaru Nakamura.
Yeah, exactly. It's something most people tend to overlook.
Yeah.
But if you get that opportunity, don't let it slip you by. Play it and then try to get advice from them.
Yeah.
Even if you eventually win, there's things you would learn from them that you probably never even considered.
Yeah.
So that's my number one advice. And then the second one is keep score as much as you can. Even if you're playing a rapid game, keep as much of the score as you can, because that way you know what your mood was during the game. Then you easily going to be able to tell how that mood swings happens, or when you lose threat of the position and it starts to go south, or when you actually make the move that swings it your way. So keep score and play against stronger opponents as much as you can.
Great advice. And you were telling me just as before we started recording that you've been active in your life in supporting grassroots chess in your native Nigeria.
Yeah.
Do you still get back there?
Yeah, I do once in a while, but I haven't been there in a while though. So I'm trying to replicate what I did back in Nigeria back here, but I haven't really found the time to do that yet.
Yeah.
From this event now with Hikaru and all that, I've gotten like 3 or 4 people reach out to me, asking that they like the way I play, that could I take off as a coach with them, that kind of thing. So it's something I'm considering. It's something I really love to do. I like to give advice to kids, most especially.
Yeah.
And just teach them things. There's things that, because like I tell them, there was life before computers came in.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It's hard to believe, but it's true. So the very first instinct they have when they try to analyze a position is to hook it up on the engine. But I try to discourage that. I say, no, look at it yourself. Plain eyesight. Look at it critically and tell me what you see, When you're able to rationalize that way and analyze, then you can match up what you're seeing with what the computers is and see how far apart the analysis is. Plus, we're humans, right? We could never be 100%, especially since we're not Hikaru or Magnus or anything.
Right.
So we cannot be that accurate. We're always going to be human. And there's this humanity that's involved in a one-on-one interaction with another individual that you're never going to get with computers. So there's a psychological edge that you don't get with computers. And all of that stuff, I never downplay chess psychology and just being human as a chess player.
Yeah. Well, Hikaru, again, in his recaps, he emphasized that. He was saying that's one thing he was really enjoying about these tournaments is sort of is the psychology of trying to constantly be thinking of how to maintain dynamics and how to avoid theoretical lines. And
Yeah. Which is something that we probably don't do at our end. We try to go into the theory because we think we know it.
Right.
But
he's one step ahead, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, last thing. So I've gotten a good feel for the thriving and increasingly thriving after this tournament chess scene in New Orleans. How is the scene in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, it's in Baton Rouge. It's gone quiet for a while, to be honest. But I mean, even today, I'm trying to resuscitate some activity because in the past there used to be some matches between players in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So that's something that's big on my agenda right now. I'm trying to bring that back. I hear it used to be an annual thing. So I'm trying to if I could bring that up to maybe like twice a year or on a quarterly basis, that would be great.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of good players in New Orleans, and we also have lots of good players down here in Baton Rouge. So I'm trying to get something going that would be steady. That way we could just learn from each other and get better.
Sounds great. Well, good luck with that, Charles. And thanks so much for sharing your story. It's been great to hear.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to reach you, I saw you're anonymous on chess.com. Is there anything else I should link to?
Yeah, I'm on chess.com. I'm on Chess.
Great site, of course.
There's two other major platforms I'm on for now.
Okay. So I will link to those. And yeah,
it's the same
thanks so
handle.
much. Sorry you didn't win the state championship.
No problem.
But you had a good tournament and great story nonetheless. All right. Thank you, Charles.
Man. Thanks, man. Appreciate the time.